In today's video, we're going to be creating the About Us page for the desktop layout for our pet care website. I'm just going to scroll down so that we can take a moment to look at it. And yeah, that's it. Check out the description below for the links to other parts of this video if you are just joining us for the first time. I've already brought in the images I'm going to use for this section. Once again, the links to all of these images will be in the description box below, and you can go ahead and remove their backgrounds. I'm going to just zoom in. Let me start with this header section. So I'm just going to copy this, come back here, select this. I'm going to delete it, select the entire frame, and then paste. Next up, I'm going to grab a copy of this rectangle and bring it out of the frame. Let me move it. I'm also going to, let me just give myself more space to work with. So I'm just going to move this to the side. Alright, let's get back to it. The height of this rectangle is currently 484. I would prefer something shorter. Let me say 455. And I'm just going to come back to this image. Now select the image, and we are going to change the width of the image to 1245. Next, just like we did with the blobs, select this rectangle, use your right square bracket to send this rectangle to the top, select the image, send it to the top. Next, I'm going to select this rectangle, Ctrl D to duplicate, and I'm going to grab a copy of this image and bring it here. So I'm sort of going for something like this. Yeah, that looks good enough. I'm just going to have that here. I wonder if I can, let me see. My image is currently 43 from the top of the rectangle, and from the side it's 293. Let me just move it a little bit, just almost out of frame. So these are the dimensions for my rectangle and my image. If you want to use exactly the same thing, you can go ahead. I'm going to now select the rectangle that is closest to the image. We're not going to duplicate the image because we're not going to have that popping out effect. And I'm going to select the image and then right click, use as mask, and we're going to have this. Next, I'm going to select, or let's go back to our home page. This rectangle that we have here that has this really soft shadow, I'm just going to select it, Ctrl Alt and C to copy properties. We want to have the same properties on this rectangle. I'm going to select this rectangle, not the mask group, the rectangle behind it. Let's change the fill to pet care background, and while the rectangle is selected, Ctrl Alt and V to paste the rectangle because I want it to have that same shadow. Now I'm just going to select these, Ctrl G to group, and then I'm going to lock the aspect ratio. Now I'm just going to cut that, Ctrl Shift R, and I'm going to paste and then replace. I'm just kind of looking at it a bit, and this is actually quite close. I'm going to, so the spacing is currently 70. I'm going to move this up a bit. I'm going to move the other one too. So maybe I could raise it up to, hopefully, if we have to move it up because the other images, I don't know how it will look in the other ones, I'm going to move them. So for this one also, I'm going to move it so that it's 60 from the top of the frame because that was a little too close to the image. Anyway, we are done with this. Now we have our sort of hero section for the About Us page. Let's select this text, and I'm going to change the typography to pet care desktop heading. I'm just going to also create a copy of that, change the typography of this one to pet care desktop body, and I'm going to go to my notes. We are currently in the next page. This is the text. I'm going to paste, and I'm going to select these two text box, make it an auto layout. Gap is going to be 20. Just to make sure, I want to check that this text is on the edge of this column here. And now I'm going to move this around till it's at the center of this rectangle. Well, mine technically isn't really a center. The top is 178, the bottom is 177. It's close, and it's basically the center. But anyway, I'm just going to align that to the center of this rectangle. Let's now move on to the next part. So we are going to create our images. So let's just come out here and create these 3 images with the blobs. I'm going to choose blob 3. So I'm going to create a copy and bring it here. Blob 4. And we're going to use blob 1. So 3, 4, and 1. That's the order we're going to use. I'm going to select this blob and use my right square bracket to send it to the top. Select this image of this cat. Use my right square bracket to send it to the top next. I'm going to select this blob, and I'm going to change the width to 382. And let me move it a little bit. I'm going to select this image. I'm going to change the width to 684. Next, select this blob, Ctrl D to duplicate, and I'm going to grab this image and place it over this blob, and I'm going to find the position that I like. Let me say I don't know, maybe, you know what, I'm going to select this too. You don't have to do this part anyway. I want to rotate both of them, so I'm just going to rotate them 180 degrees to the other direction because I didn't like how it was sitting on the image. I actually preferred this. I'm going to select, if yours looks fine you can leave it as it is, but I'm going to move this, and I'm just going to find a position that I find that I really like, and I'm going to go with something like this. While I'm selecting on the image, Ctrl D to duplicate that image. Next, select the image and the blob that are closest to each other, right click, use as mask. Now select the image that is on top, and we're going to crop it. I'm going to reduce the height like this. The width, just make sure that it's on the edge of the blob because we want to use the blob as the guide for the width, the total width. I'm going to just reduce it. As for this, I'm going to reduce it till it's about maybe here. Close, and then select the blob. We're going to change the fill of that to pet care grid. Now select everything, group, and then go over to dimensions and lock aspect ratio. So in total the height of my own image is 455. It should be around that for you, but typically we are just focusing on the width, which is 382. But yeah, that's it for this one. Let's now move on to the next one, which is this one. I'm going to select this blob first, use my right square bracket to send it to the top. Select this image next, use my right square bracket to send it to the top. I'm going to select the blob, and I'm going to change the width to 382. And I'm going to duplicate it using Ctrl and D. Now we have 2 copies of this blob. Select this image. Let's change the width to 336. and I'm going to grab this image and just find a suitable position. Well, the most important thing is this edge should be on the bottom edge should be on the bottom of your blob, and you can see we also have this cutoff point, so I think that will just make it much easier for us to kind of position it. So it's basically at the, you're just aligning to the bottom right, if that makes sense, since these two sides are cut off. Okay, now that I'm satisfied with the position of this image, I'm going to duplicate it using Ctrl and D. Select the image below and the blob. Select the image and blob that are closest to each other. Right click, use as mask. Select the image on top, double click, and I'm going to reduce this, you know what, maybe even more. Maybe I could just reduce it a bit just to make sure that we've got everything like this. I'm going to close that dialog. Next, select the blob beneath, and we're going to change the fill to pet care orange. And we are done with that. I'm going to select all of this. I'm going to group, and I'm going to go over to dimensions and lock the aspect ratio. I want to select the image again, and I feel like I could trim off a bit, just a little bit here. I just wanted to trim just a little bit because I want the size to be a bit closer to this. So this is 355, this is 351. Once again, the height will probably not all be the same, but you can get it as close as possible. Let's work on the final one, which is this one. I'm going to start with the blob. Select the blob first. Use your right square brackets to send it to the top, and I'm going to select the image. Use my right square bracket to send it to the top. Select the blob once again. Make the width 382. I'm going to select the image, and I'm going to make the width 506. Now I'm going to select the blob once again, Ctrl D to duplicate, and I'm going to select the image and bring it over this blob. I just need to pick an appropriate place. Let me see. So this image is currently aligned to the center. So the center of the image is aligned to the center of the blob. It just so happened to work out that way. I think that works fine. That's okay. I'm just showing the blob isn't showing below for me. Anyway, that looks good enough. Ctrl D to duplicate the image. Select the image and blob that are closest to each other. Right click, use as mask. Select the image above, and we're going to just trim this down. Let me see. I want to get as close as I can get. I'm going to reduce this, and our goal is to make sure that whatever we reduce the width to, the blob should be the guide for the total width. So you can just trim, and we have this. Now we can select the blob beneath, and we are going to change the fill to pet care red. Finally, I'm going to select all of this, group, and now we're going to lock the aspect ratio. That way we can resize it easily. Alright, now that we're done with the images, we can now start working on the web page proper. I'm going to, let me just delete this, not gonna need that. Let me start with this subheading text. I'm going to make it pet care desktop subheading 1, and for the bottom one I'm going to make it pet care desktop body. I'm going to grab my text. This is who we are. I'm going to copy that. I'm going to paste, and then I'm going to grab this text, and then I'm going to copy and paste. Let me also delete this one too. We're not going to need that. I'm going to increase the width of this till it's let me say 500. Let me just make it an even 500, the width for this bottom text. And I'm going to select this one and I'm going to make it an auto layout. Gap, I'm going to make 20, and I'm going to grab the image for this section, which is this one. Let me move this down a bit. I'm going to select this image and this frame, use Alt V to align them vertically, and I'm going to change their spacing to 45, and then I'm going to group. If I move on to the next section, I just want to change this us, the U in us here, to uppercase. Okay, let's move on to the next one. I can just delete this one as well. I'm going to select this subheading, change the text, the typography to Pet Care Desktop subheading 1. Select this one, change the typography to Pet Care Desktop body. I'm going to have to increase the height of my frame. Okay, so now I can grab my text. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to copy this and paste, and I'm going to copy this section also, and then I'm going to paste. I'm going to select both of these texts, and while both of them are selected, I'm going to change the alignment of the text to right. Next up, I'm going to make this, let me increase the width of this. I want the text to be on 3 lines like this. The width is 477 if you want to use the same one. I'm going to select this two, make it an auto layout, and the alignment is currently set to left. You can leave it like that. Make the gap 20, and I'm going to grab the image for this, which is this one, and I'm going to select this two, use Alt V to align them vertically, or you could use the button, which is this one, and I'm going to change their spacing to 45, and I'm going to group. Finally, we have this. Let me grab this image and just bring it here, and I can reuse this text. Let's start with the subheading. I'm going to, let me change typography first. I'm going to select the subheading text, change it to Pet Care Desktop subheading 1. Select the body text and change typography to Pet Care Desktop body. I'm going to go to my notes, select the subheading, and I'm going to paste. I'm going to select the remaining text, copy, and then paste. I'm going to, let me select this from this dash all the way here. I'm going to change the typography of the text to Pet Care Desktop medium heading. I'm going to do the same for this one, Pet Care medium heading. Select this, Pet Care medium heading, and then finally Pet Care medium heading. And I can just reduce this. Let me see, we're going to have a space. This width, my width is currently 416. If you want to use exactly the same one, I'm going to make this an auto layout. Gap is going to be 20 also. Finally, I'm going to select this and this, Alt V to align them vertically. Spacing is going to be 45, and I'm going to group. Let's now work on this section. For this section, we're also going to need to work on these images, so let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to grab copies of these blobs. We're going to need copies of all 4 since we have 4 images to work on. Let's do this one by one. I'm going to start with these 2, and I'm going to select the blob first and use my right square bracket to send it to the front, and then use my right square bracket to send the image to the top of our selection pane. And then for the blob, mine is currently set to 245. That's actually what we need for this section. All of them are going to be 245, so for me, I don't need to change it. If yours is a different shape, different width, go ahead and change it to 245. For the image, the width is going to be 194, so I'm going to change this to 194. Let's go back to the blob, Ctrl D to duplicate the blob, and I'm going to grab the image and place it over this blob. So my focus is to align it to the bottom since it's cut out there, and I'm just going to move it. So for me, leaving it at the center, aligning the 2 where it's aligned to the bottom and then aligned to the center is fine. So you can find a position that works well for you for yours. I'm going to duplicate the image. Now select the image and blob that are closest to each other, right click, and we are going to use as mask. I'm not going to crop the image for now. I want, unlike other situations where I would like the height doesn't matter, this one I want all of them to match because we're going to put them side by side. So for now, just leave the height of the image for now, and I'm just going to go back to the blob, and I'm going to change the fill to pet care orange. And we're not going to group yet because we've not cropped it, so I'm just going to leave that here. Let me grab the next one. So just going to bring it a little closer. I'm going to grab the blob and then the image. Select the blob, use your right square bracket to send it to the top, and then select the image next, use your right square bracket to send to top. Select the blob, Ctrl D to duplicate. Select the image. Let's change the width to 237. Once again, this blob is 245. It's 240. Oh, it's not supposed to be 245. I'm just going to change that. It's supposed to be 245. I'm going to select the image and bring it over this blob. Once again, I think this one, aligning it to the bottom of the blob works for me, and I'll just kind of move it. So let me say I have it just around here, something like this. This is fine. Then I'm going to Ctrl D, duplicate the image, and I'm going to select the image and blob that are closest to each other, right click, and I'm going to use as mask. Select the blob beneath, and we're going to change the color of that to pet care green. I'm going to move on to the next one. We'll come over and crop all of them when we're done. I'm going to grab this, make sure the width is 245, and I'm going to grab this image, select this blob, use your right square bracket to send to top, select the image, use your right square bracket to send it to the top. Select the blob, Ctrl D, duplicate, select this image, change the width to 255, and I'm going to align it to the bottom, and for me, aligning to the center works well for me. Yours could be different, so I'm just going to Ctrl D to duplicate the image, select the image and blob that are closest to each other, right click, use as mask, select the blob underneath, go to fill, and we are going to change the fill to pet care red. Let's work on the final one. I'm going to grab this one, width is 245. I'm going to select the blob, use my right square bracket to send it to top, select the image, use my right square bracket to send it to the top, select the blob, Ctrl D, to duplicate, select the image, change the width to 222, and I'm going to align this one to the bottom also, and I'm going to move it till, okay, for me also align it to the center works well for me, and I'm just going to like leave it like that. Control D to duplicate, select the image and the blob that is closest to it, right click, use as mask, select the blob underneath and change the fill to pet care purple. Now I'm just going to align all their bottom, so I'll just select this, maybe move this one so that its bottom is aligned to this one, select this, align it, select this, align like this. Let me start with this one. So the height is 291. I think 291 should work for all of them. Let me see which one. Okay, so this actually is the shortest of all the images, so I'll leave this one as it is. Then I'm going to, the issue is if I overcrop this one, I don't want to end up, so I'll leave this one as it is, but the others I'm going to crop all of them so their tops are all equal. That's what I wanted to do. So let's start with this one. I'm going to reduce the size from the bottom, just leave the top as it is, don't change it, escape, and now I can come to this one, double click, crop from the bottom, and then align, move this till Figma indicates that we are at the same level here, so that way we know that they are equal at the top. Just to make sure, I can just check. Yeah, I'm going to select this one. Let's start from the bottom. I'm going to crop it like this. Let me zoom out so that I can also see the other one. I'm going to move it till Figma indicates that it's at the same level, and then I'm going to stop, close, come over here. I'm going to crop from the bottom like this till it's within the blob, and then I'm going to reduce the height till Figma indicates we're at the same level, and then I'm going to stop. Once again, I'm just going to select all of this, Ctrl G to group, lock aspect ratio. I'm going to group this one, lock the aspect ratio. Same with this one, I'm going to group it, lock the aspect ratio, and then finally I'm going to group this and then lock the aspect ratio. I'm seeing some differences. They are all 291, but there's this slight difference where it's saying point something. That's fine, it's not going to be an issue. And yeah, we all have all our images are of the same height since we're going to be using them in the same section, so I wanted them to be equal. Let's now work on this part. I'm going to ungroup, start with this subheading. I just want to make sure it's on the edge, and I'm going to come over to typography, and we're going to change this to pet care desktop subheading 1, and I'm going to grab the text which is meet our team. I'm going to copy that and I'm going to paste. Next, we're going to, let me ungroup all of this so that we can reuse the text. I'm going to ungroup this. I'm going to start with this, cuts, replace, cuts, replace, cuts, and then replace. Control Shift and R is what I'm using, just in case. I'm going to cut and replace. I'm going to select all of this text on top so I can change all their typographies at once. I'm going to go to typography, then we are going to select this is going to be pet care medium heading, and then the bottom ones is going to be pet care body, pet care desktop body, pet care desktop body. That's what we're going to use. Let's now grab the names and titles and descriptions of our team members. I'm going to paste this here, copy this, paste. Let me grab the text for the second one, copy and paste. Going to grab this one, copy and then paste. Let's go over to the third person. I'm going to copy and paste. I'm going to copy this and paste, and then finally copy the name of our fourth team member, copy this and then paste. Let's now come closer. So I'm going to select this text with the name and this one underneath. I'm going to select both of them, make it an auto layout, change the gap to 10, and I just want to make sure that the width is set to fill. And then you can select the image and then the text, make it an auto layout. This time the gap is going to be 20. I want the image and the width of the image should be set to fill container, and the frame underneath should be fill container. That way we can resize it easily. I'm going to move on to the next one. Select these two, make it an auto layout using Shift and A, make the gap 10. Make sure that the text are set to fill container, the width of the text. Select the image. This is currently 249, which is interesting. It was not supposed to be 249, it's supposed to be 245. Anyway, I just reduced that. I'm going to, it seems like I didn't change it while I was creating the blob. Slight difference, but it is what it is. I'm going to select this and this, make it an auto layout. Gap is going to be 20. I'm going to select the image, set the width to fill container, set this frame to fill, and I'm just going to check to make sure. Yeah. Next up is this. Select the text, make them an auto layout, and mind you, the text, I'm just setting it, the width is the width of 3 columns, which is 245. I'm going to change the gap to 10, and I'm going to select the image. This time it's 255, which is interesting. I tried to use it as 245. Oh, I think I know what it is. Even though I was careful about it saying you should crop the image, it was the way I cropped my image. So I'm just going to undo that. I'm leaving this part in so you can see why I tend to use the blob as a guide. This is what's going on. So I didn't crop it this way, I left the image, so that's why the width is slightly different, and I just changed that. It happens sometimes, you just get so carried away with what you're doing. I've done it quite a bit where I'll get carried away with what I'm doing and I'll completely forget what I was supposed to do. So I just fixed that quickly. I'll fix the other one when I'm there. All right, I'm going to select this to make it an auto layout. Gap should be 20. I'm going to select the image and I'm going to set the width to fill container. The frame beneath should also be set to fill container. This I'm going to quickly fix the width. I'm going to select the image on top and I'm going to reduce it so that it's the same width with the blob. And now my image should be 245. Okay, I'm going to select these two texts, make it an auto layout. Gap is going to be 10. Select the image and the frame, make it a frame again, and we're going to change the gap to 20. Select the image, change the width to fill container, and the frame beneath should also be fill container. Finally, this one seems fine. This one is fine. It's 245, so no changes there. I'm going to select these two, make it a frame, change the gap to 10. I'm going to select the image and this text, make it a frame, change the gap to 20, and then select the image and set it to fill container. And I'm just going to make sure, yeah, Now we can just select this, and I'm going to make it a frame or an auto layout. Now I'm just going to select this one, set it to fill container, this one, fill container, fill container, fill container. That way it should resize everything all together. Now select the subheading and this frame, make it an auto layout. Gap should be 20, and I just want to check. Okay, for me it's already going to work fine. The resizing is going to change. I'm not going to worry too much about this because it's not going to be affected when we're resizing for the tablet or mobile layouts. Okay, that's it. Let's now add our final detail, which is the footer section. I'm just going to copy from this page, Control Shift and R to replace. Let's go back to the top, change colors, and then we're going to space. Let's start with, we already know that this is already changed to the appropriate color, so I'm going to check selection colors. They all look good. Next is this one. They're all black, so I'm going to change the text to pet care fonts. Select this. We have, this is the blobs color. This is going to be pet care fonts. Whatever is black, I'm going to change to pet care fonts. This is going to be pet care fonts. This same thing, whatever is black, changed to pet care fonts. Sorry, I've not changed the fill of this. Select the entire frame, go over to fill and change it to background. I'm going to select this rectangle and this section. I'm going to make the spacing 30, and I'm going to align this to, maybe I should just use Alt H. So what I did is essentially this, align horizontal center. So I just aligned it to the center horizontally. I think I moved it a bit. Okay, I didn't. I just wanted to check to make sure. So the spacing between this rectangle and this section is 30. I'm going to select this, same thing, Alt H, Alt and H, and I'm going to select these 3 items, and I'm going to make the spacing 0 for these 3 sections. I'm going to select this section and meet the theme. I'm going to make it 155. Select the meet the theme section and the footer section, make the spacing 100. Finally, let's reduce the height of the frame. The last item we're going to add is our paw print. So I'm going to create a copy of all of it and then bring it here. What I'm looking for is, I'm going to remove this last 3. I want to see if adding this one will make, okay, because I don't want to add it. Just hold on, I want to see what it's going to look like. Okay, so I wanted to make sure I didn't have to recopy the other one because I wanted it to show at this edge also. Now I'm just going to move it into the frame, and I'm just going to kind of decide where I want it to be. Let's see. So I have one going across this cut here, one here. Maybe could move it up a bit. Yeah, that looks fine. It's not going to be perfect all the time. In fact, this project is more like a everything is not always aligned properly, where we have things moving about, and you know, everything is not all neat and tidy. So it's being lopsided is actually going to add to our design. I'm just going to leave it like that, and I'm going to use my left square bracket, or let me just use it, right click, and then you can send to back. And that is it for this page. Let's go ahead and look at it in the prototype view. So I'm going to run this. I'm going to give this a moment to load. And there we go. We have our about us page. I'm just going to scroll down so you can see it. And yeah, that is it for this section of our tutorial. Check out the description below to get the link to the course playlist or other parts of this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next part of this series.